As temperatures start to climb, there's no better way to cool down than to take a dip in the pool. But be careful because not all bodies of water are made for swimming. Some of these lakes, rivers and pools may look inviting, but taking a dip in them might be the last thing you ever do. From pretty pools that are actually brimming with acid, to flooded holes that are impossible to escape, let's dive into some swimming spots you should approach with caution and others you shouldn't approach at all. Bleach bath. What do you know about Tanzania? That it's in Africa? That it's home to some amazing wildlife? That it has a 490 square mile body of water which can turn living things to stone? Wait, what was that last one? That sounds like something out of a fairy tale. But believe me, it's real. This is Lake Natron, located in part of Tanzania that's so hot, it loses most of its water to evaporation. This leaves salty, mineral-rich remnants to crust over the lakebed with salt-loving microorganisms that sport a deep red pigment thriving on what the water leaves behind. However, the water that does remain is so saturated with salt that migratory birds who stop for a refreshing bath suddenly find themselves coated in salt crystals. Once they calcify, these salty layers trap the poor creatures in a matter of minutes, mummifying them alive. Okay, not exactly stone, but close enough. Though that's not even the worst part. The sodium and mineral-rich bedrock makes Lake Natron's environment strongly alkaline, meaning the water here has a pH of 10 on an average day, and a pH of 12 when the waters reach a scalding 140 degrees Fahrenheit. So at its worst, taking a dip in this lake would be like swimming through hot bleach, leaving you with serious alkaline burns. This is something a group of wildlife photographers horrifyingly experienced firsthand back in 2007. As they were flying over the lake, their helicopter pilot became disoriented and crashed. The chemicals in the water immediately began irritating their eyes, practically blinding them while slowly burning their skin. But miraculously, they managed to brave the pain and scramble 2 miles across the shallow waters to the nearest solid ground. Luckily, they all made a full recovery. But if they had crashed much further out, or if it had been an even hotter day, this could have ended fatally. Narrow escape. In the hot Texas summertime, kids near Wimberley love nothing more than playing in a local creek, one which leads to a spring called Jacob's Well. Springs like this are usually small and can present a fun photo opportunity like this if they're just the right depth. But the 12-foot diameter mouth of this spring looks weirdly huge, like it's been punched into the bedrock, and with a 30-foot plunge straight down, it seems like a perfect place to practice a cannonball or six. But something dark lurks at the bottom of the well, something that's claimed the lives of many people who have dived down too far. Not a monster, thank God, at least as far as we know. You see, Jacob's Well is a karstic spring that's part of an underwater cave system. Past the 30-foot main chamber, the cavern continues down to a series of tunnels and chambers separated by narrow shafts. That is until it reaches an average depth of 120 feet with adjoining caves and tunnels stretching out more than 4,500 feet. And that's just the caves that have been explored. This intricate system is something that's attracted cave divers and free divers from all over the world. And herein lies the main danger of swimming in Jacob's Well. Some of the entrances to other tunnels are so narrow, divers have to remove their oxygen tanks to squeeze through them. All it takes is one fumble and their oxygen tanks could be lost to the dark cavernous stretches below. More than a dozen divers have lost their lives in Jacob's Well this way. And like that wasn't scary enough, back in 2015, Diego Adam was freediving in the cave, which is diving without the use of an oxygen tank, relying instead on lung capacity and pure willpower alone. He sunk down some 100 feet, squeezing through impossibly small gaps when all of a sudden he lost a flipper. Diego gulps. Terrified that he wouldn't be able to make it back to the surface in time, he cut away the weight belt he'd used to help him sink and made a desperate move to scramble for the mouth. Diego gulps. Miraculously, Diego made it back up to the surface in the nick of time. But if he'd been down even slightly deeper or hadn't been able to cut his belt away, it might have been a very different story. Did anyone else feel their heartbeat get a little faster there? Man, between being stuck in an underwater cave or being boiled alive in a lake of bleach, I'm not sure which fate would be worse. What do you think? For the bleach bath, hit the like button. For the narrow escape, hit Skurcher D, and now his gets a bin now. This now, the buat statser scrape dance the debersai, words try. Bon o once a day, ombo one dao, bon bao unparted the dao by. This zel brown canal one on nenden, then stow deni. Oh whoa I. Alright, great. Okay, deep breath. What watery nightmare have we got next? The underwater labyrinth. Tell me something. How many times have you dived into a pool, started swimming, and then gotten lost? Not a regular occurrence, I'd hope. But for those brave enough to step foot in the Eagle's Nest sinkhole, it's a very real possibility. Located on the Floridian coast, the Eagle's Nest is a flooded sinkhole that at a glance looks like a secret pool hidden perfectly from the rest of the world. Sometimes its waters are completely clear. Other times it's practically black, dyed by naturally occurring pigments called tannins from the surrounding vegetation. But no matter what the water looks like on the surface, once you head under, the danger is turned up to 11, because this is just the entrance to a huge network of caves and tunnels submerged beneath, some as deep as 310 feet stretching out Manamame. And Abercreen and Nanangin Sabah. The Myra or Samwabercreen one, Amberkander String, the Crombercreen all Mother Aberspree, and Doing the Sandanim Green and Britain Pitch Black. It's a popular spot with cave divers who take some sort of psychopathic joy in the idea of traveling underwater, while practically blind. What's more, because some either incredibly brave or utterly deranged part of them wants to push the boundaries of exploration, they try to map previously uncharted caves and tunnels. The issue is, it's easy to get turned around and lost in here, especially in the pitch black, when all the rocks around you look the same in the torchlight. As such, some overambitious divers and swimmers have become so lost, they never made it back to the surface. Since 1981, at least 13 divers have succumbed to this utterly horrifying fate. It's gotten so bad that signs like this one have been installed in the cave to try and dissuade overeager swimmers from swimming farther on and getting lost. Well, no need to dissuade me, Florida, because luckily for you, I am a massive coward. Black and blue. Over in the United Kingdom, another deceptively beautiful-looking lake can be found in a pit dug into the Derbyshire countryside. These are the beautiful blue waters of the aptly named Blue Lagoon, or, well, they used to be. In 2013, and then again in 2020, the local council dyed the waters black to try and dissuade eager locals from taking a dive in it. But why? Well, despite the lagoon part of its name, it's actually situated in an old limestone quarry, which after it was disused in 1952, was eventually left to gather rainwater. Because the surrounding limestone rocks leached calcite crystals into the waters gradually became that inviting turquoise color, but also gave the lagoon a strong alkaline pH of 11.3. Considering ammonia has a pH of 11.5 and bleach is about 12, swimming is the last thing you want to do in these waters. At that strength, the water causes skin irritation, stomach problems, and even chemical burns. But this wasn't enough to stop people from taking a dip, especially during lockdown. Despite mounds of trash in the water, dead animals, and an impossible-to-miss warning sign, people can still be found risking a paddle in this pit. I mean, I know public pools don't have the best reputation, but swimming in bleach, surrounded by garbage, doesn't exactly seem like an upgrade. Yellowstone's secret weapon. Now, not all deadly bodies of water are just one color, as proven by the Grand Prismatic Spring of Yellowstone Park. Located in the Midway Geyser Basin, this is the third largest natural hot spring in the entire world, measuring in at 370 feet in diameter. That means from end to end, it's more than double the length of an Olympic swimming pool. The bedrock sports huge concentric circles of vibrant blues, greens, yellows, and oranges, making it look like a magic portal rather than a pool. But these aren't magic. They're down to the geothermally heated water that erupts from the center of the spring, which can reach a near-boiling 189 degrees Fahrenheit. When this water spreads out, it cools, allowing rings of different bacteria that thrive at different temperatures to develop, ranging from 131 to 189 degrees Fahrenheit. That's still seriously hot, like third-degree burns hot. Though burns are the least of your worries in this area. Back in 2016, a tourist was visiting the Yellowstone Springs when he and his sister, despite all the warning signs, decided to go hiking into a restricted area. They planned to take a dip in a hot pool away from the prying public eyes. But as he was checking the temperature of the hot water, he accidentally slipped and fell. He scrambled desperately but couldn't get out. His sister tried to pull him out, but with the waters reaching a scalding 199 degrees Fahrenheit, she suffered serious burns and couldn't help. Because they deviated from the path, help arrived far too late. A thunderstorm called off in attempts to retrieve his remains. And they made plans to return the next day. But because the water in this area is also slightly acidic combined with the intense heat when they returned the next day,